think it's a fair thing to say that Chris Nolan's Interstellar is easily his most divisive movie to date. Some really love it as a masterpiece, but others have really mixed feelings about it, and there are some who really hate certain aspects of it. For me, I am somewhere on the more positive side, which is to say that I enjoy it okay despite its problems. But let's try and analyze why this movie is so divisive. I think one of the reasons why is because this film is what most people would call a hard science fiction film, which is to say that the film will consist a lot of science mumbo-jumbo that casual audiences won't really understand very well.
That's relativity, folks.
It's clear that Interstellar was heavily inspired by 2001: A Space Odyssey. In fact, Interstellar is essentially 2001 with a more straightforward plot. In Interstellar, Earth is becoming uninhabitable, and our main hero, played by Matthew McConaughey, is sent to explore a wormhole near Saturn which may be a portal to other inhabitable planets. But he has to leave her daughter behind, and Cooper's relationship with her daughter is really the main emotional drive of the story.
It says, stay, Dad. You don't believe me. Look at the books. Look at this. It says, stay. Why? You're not listening. It says, stay.
A common criticism of Chris Nolan movies is that sometimes characters' dialogue can be a little bit too literal at times. And in this movie, it's especially apparent. And as a result, even though the science is interesting, the characters feel a little bit underdeveloped and flat. Or maybe they're just speaking out their thoughts too literally sometimes.
Yearning to be with other people is powerful. You're feeling it, aren't you? A survival instinct.
Love is the one thing we're capable of perceiving that transcends dimensions of time and space.
Just water.
Chef alive.
I'm sorry, I can't watch you go through this. I'm sorry.
From a character development's perspective, they rarely talk like believable characters that you can relate to, and that overly literal dialogue can sometimes make the characters feel a bit robotic. And I think that's why audiences who watch movies for stories with interesting characters will really dislike this movie. But despite all that, there's some seriously good stuff to enjoy about Interstellar. The cinematography, especially the IMAX cinematography, is simply marvelous, and is well suited for that giant screen format. It really evokes the feel of those old IMAX documentaries that you used to see on those gigantic screens at Science Centre. It just feels very immersive. A few years ago, I've seen The Dark Knight Rises in the Sydney LG IMAX theatre, and while you could argue that the Chris Nolan Batman movies don't really provide a fundamentally different experience watching in IMAX, I do think that a movie like Interstellar will feel a lot more amazing in a large screen format because of its gorgeous space imagery. If you haven't seen this movie in IMAX theatres, and I mean the 70mm IMAX theatres and not the smaller digital IMAX, then this Blu-ray is the next best thing.
Stage 2, separation.
Another criticism that this movie has received is that its ideas are not as original as everyone claims, that its ideas were already explored in movies like Contact or Event Horizon. I haven't seen those two movies, but I'll defend the film by saying that just because it's not original doesn't mean that it can't be presented in an interesting or unique way. I mean, the movie held my interest the whole way through, even though I felt the pacing of the movie could have been a bit tighter. Maybe this movie was more critically well acclaimed than those other two movies because it was more visually impressive, but correct me if I'm wrong. This is really the kind of movie that is so complex that it's possible to hate the entire movie even if you just dislike just one aspect of it. It's kind of like how the ending of Bioshock Infinite left a bad taste in my mouth even though the game itself was very well produced. And without giving too much away, the third act of Interstellar may be exactly that for some. Overall, Interstellar's story is not quite as smooth-flowing as Chris Nolan's previous film Inception, but there's enough ambition and awe here that makes Interstellar at least worth seeing for yourself.
You tried your best, Murph.
For the most part, this Blu-ray reproduced the look of the film nicely, but it should be mentioned that some of the regular 35mm shots don't look quite as sharp as you would like, which can look a little soft or off focus. Black levels on some shots can also be a little bit off at times. But when it comes to the IMAX shots, especially the shots on the ice planet or the water planet, those shots look outstanding and crisp. And these are the shots that will hold up very well to very large screens. And this is a movie you would want to watch on a large screen because of its cinematography. It's generally just a very impressive but flawed looking transfer. Okay, the audio. There's a little bit of controversy to address. While Interstellar was first released, there were many complaints that the dialogue was almost inaudible because the sound effects and music were intentionally mixed louder. This goes against traditions in sound mixing, which teaches that dialogue should remain audible even without sound effects and music. It may be a design choice to have sound effects and music overwhelm dialogue, but I still feel that this is a bad design choice. I mean, how am I supposed to understand a movie when I can't understand what they're saying, especially a hard science fiction movie like this which will have a lot of dialogue? Thankfully, this issue was somehow less prevalent on this Blu-ray. There were only a few scenes where it was hard to hear the dialogue. And in any event, if you can't hear the dialogue, you can always turn on the subtitles. With that issue aside, this sound mix is quite an aggressive and powerful mix. The best part is that you don't necessarily need to upgrade your current sound system to enjoy this mix. When the filmmakers say that this sound mix is designed to take full advantage of current existing cinema sound system, they mean it and it shows. Even on my relatively modest 8-inch subwoofer, bass sounds are still strong and powerful, like the liftoff sequence or whenever the spaceship is landing on a planet. And it's not just the bass, the mid-range and high frequency sounds crisp as well. Music also sounds awesome. Composer Hans Zimmer really made use of organs to make a unique sounding movie score. That music score is reproduced perfectly, and low notes sound especially satisfying in the LFE.
Come on, Tars. Come on, Tars.
This is another Blu-ray that you can use to show off your home theater sound, even with the occasionally drowned out dialogue.
Killing main engines. Okay, we're out of orbit.
There are quite a few interesting extras on disc 2. There's your standard behind the scenes stuff like how they shot in Iceland for 2 of the planets, as well as a look at how they blend practical effects with CG. There's also a documentary called The Science of Interstellar which talks about the real science behind Interstellar. And if you specifically order the US Blu-ray, you get an exclusive IMAX film sound included in the package while stocks last. Interstellar is a flawed masterpiece. In fact, as I mentioned before, even just one of those flaws can ruin the entire movie for you. Still, even with its flaws and even if it's not entirely original, watching Interstellar still feels like a unique movie experience in recent years, especially with its breathtaking audio and video. So if you have seen the movie in theaters already in IMAX and you loved it, then buying this Blu-ray is a no-brainer. But if you haven't, I still recommend a rental and see it for yourself.